So, thank you so much, Matt, again for joining us all the way from Australia. What time is it in Australia?
Just 9 o'clock in the morning, Jeff. It's so it's perfect.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, good.
nice. No 4 a.m. masterclass is good.
No, that's a good thing.
Yes.
Very, very good thing. So no, it's yeah. Look, it's we're still in our summertime here, but it's the weather's changed a little, so it's gotten colder. But certainly nothing that you guys, I think, have been through this last wee while. So firstly, I wanted to say to all of you, yeah, I hope you're all doing okay with all the weather restrictions and things that have been on, and you're getting back to some sort of normality. So yeah, all the best to all of you students and your families and things like that. So yeah, thoughts are with you.
Well, Matt, we've got a couple of people that would like to play for you. We could also pick your brain about some of your thoughts, or if you had something you wanted to play for us, no pressure, certainly. Um, but yeah, I would personally love to hear your thoughts on, tone development, what you kind of do to maintain your playing level. If you wanted to go into that, or if we want to listen to some of my students and then we go into that at the end, it's kind of whatever you want to do.
Yeah, look, I'm really happy to have a listen to a couple of the students, and then we can maybe do a bit more of the talking side of things at the end, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's get into
Um,
it.
so we've got Gerald and Cole. Which one of you guys wants to go first?
I can go.
Okay, great. So Cole is working on the Vaughan Williams Six Studies in English Folk Song, and he's got a couple of movements prepared for you.
Okay, great.
And Cole, you're doing these on Bighorn, right?
I am. That's all the fun in this is I'm doing them all on my bighorn. Yeah.
6/4 sound. It's gonna be great.
Fantastic.
So yeah, I'm playing I say I'm playing a recital. I'm doing a recording project later this semester, so this is a part of that. So for this, I'm going to be playing the second and third movements of the six studies.
Fantastic. Now, what year are you? What's your?
I'm a senior in my last semester on campus.
Oh, fantastic. Great. Okay.
I'd hopefully, if everything goes right. Bounce okay?
Not too bad. Do you have your suppressions and things taken off the?
Yeah,
microphone there?
let me double check.
Yeah, you might check the original sound. It might be off.
There it is. I'm just gonna go back and like completely redo all this again, even though I just did it. All right, let's see now. Better?
Yeah, that sounds better. Thank you.
Awesome. So I'm just gonna go in order. So this is the beginning of two.
Nice job. We'll come back to that one in a minute, but keep going.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. Sorry, my neighbors decided to be outside right now.
done. Good job. So they're the only two you're playing?
Can you say that one more time? Sorry?
They're the only two movements you're playing?
Yes. Yeah, I can play more if you would like. Yeah.
No, that's absolutely fine for now. We can do that in a moment if we have time. Good. What are your thoughts when you're playing and performing this work yourself? Is there a concept or something that you're thinking about to portray these particular movements?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have to give credit to Dr. Baker because every single time we play this, he reminds me that Vaughan Williams wrote for choral purposes before, all of this stuff was for instruments. So since all of this stuff is meant to be cantabile, just thinking about being as expressionate and not necessarily overdoing it, but being clear and maybe overplaying some higher dynamics, underplaying some lower dynamics, things like that. And then just trying to stay as smooth from note to note as I can.
Yeah, look, I think this is certainly good a concept to think about. Obviously, you're playing on a big tuba as well, so you've got some deficiencies ahead of you before you actually begin, obviously, the higher register. Not that
Sure.
What I'm saying is not that your playing is deficient, but you're extending yourself into a register on the C tuba that is used, but certainly not, I would say, not so much in the solo repertoire, if that makes sense. So,
Sure, yeah.
being able to make that contrast between the low register, middle, and high register, and having still the same sort of sound is, I think, a really important aspect to be always thinking about. For me also, the tonality of these movements. What key signatures are they in as far as you're concerned?
Well, the first one obviously is in, let me get back to it. The first one's in just E flat major.
Second one, yep.
Second one is in D flat. I'm sorry, it's in D minor. 1 flat, B flat. So.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Also, number 2 is E flat.
Yeah, number 2 is the one that is in E flat. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 is the one that's in D.
That's right. So for me, there's a key right there. I believe that with the tonality of the work, there's an opportunity actually to exploit a little bit more of the key signatures, which I think gives the difference between the movements. Can you go for the start of number 2 again?
Yeah.
Nice rich sound. You're making a beautiful sound. Certainly the low register, there's a really good sense of flow and a good sense of use of air and things like that. I actually wonder when we get to the second system down, so this is the B flats, with the tenutos on them. When we come to that stage now, can we extend those a little bit further and almost a little rip on the bar, okay? And don't let the sound become too soft.
Sure. Okay.
Not too bad. Excellent. Jeff, I've got a little bit of feedback. That might be because of something else. I don't know. Is that me or you? But that's better. Can you still hear me? That's great. Okay, so when we come to that little bar that we got to, love that. For me, that's a little bit of musicianship. Okay, come to the end of the phrase, slow it down a little bit, keep the sound full. However, we've got the crescendo that starts on the B flat, goes to the E flat, then up to the B flat again. I think we're going to make a much bigger contrast of the sound and quality when we go up to that next phrase and keep the sound up. I think there's not enough made of the crescendo into this next phrase. And then when we have the decrescendo that starts on the G and goes to the E flat, can we actually bring that down a lot later? Is that a possibility? Can we pick it up from that phrase then, from that B flat on the second system down? I can't hear you now, sorry.
Would you like for me, sorry about that, would you like for me to start at the beginning of the measure? Or,
no, so the second system down and just the pick up from the B flat.
Pick up, gotcha, awesome.
Yeah, good, try again, but let's actually keep that sound up. And then come down after that. After we've reached that G. So keep that sound nice and full. Great. For me, there's another little opportunity there that I believe we can make a little bit more of too. See that we have this the first time, excuse me, that we come up to the dynamic of mezzo forte. Now, I would actually like this probably to be more like a mezzo forte plus when you get to it, leading from bar 15 into 16. Okay, but every time that you're reaching a peak in your crescendo or in your musical line that you're making, you diminuendo almost straight away. Yeah, I think you need to sort of think the opposite on that, and not be thinking this is always a lilt and it's always like a little motif and you go here and you go there. Try and think this is a bigger, longer phrase with bigger, longer air, with bigger, longer, I think, notes here, you know. And then the same thing when we have the tenutos on the high A flats, okay. Let's make sure that they have that same length leading to the G on the very last system, first bar. Okay, let's make sure they have that great length and that we don't diminuendo too quick. I also like what you're doing here at bar 13. For me, there's a sense after the long note that this could have a little bit of impetus or a little bit of flow, not slow, yeah? So keep the flow happening here with the music. It's hard to come back off onto that E flat with the fingering on C, I know, to be able to actually come down and then not make that sound like an explosion when you get to the E flat. But trying to make that E flat in the upper octave even clearer on the eighth note, I think is going to be really important. And don't rush those eighth notes because, you know, in essence, that sense of the long note that happens there at the end of bar 11, 12, and then 13, the time is nothing. Okay, the time means nothing. It's a long note. Okay, so when it comes to that sense of when it's time for you to go to that octave above, let's make sure that we don't rush those eighth notes into that next phrase. But I don't have a problem here in that next bar in bar 14. And then possibly edging it back a little bit in 15 that the tempo then comes back down again. But at least let's keep that nice and full. Can we just pick up from the low E flat, 11, 12, 13, bar 13? Can we go from there? So just play the E flat that's there for 2 beats. Take your breath and then go on. Who said you couldn't play musically on a big tuba, hey? Well done. Good stuff. That's nice. It's nice playing. Again, for me, that last system, the first bar, the decrescendo is too quick. I think you can keep the sound up here, okay? Because look at the difference then you've got to make. You've got another diminuendo to the piano. I would actually edge these a little bit differently. I'd be still mezzo forte in the second bar of the last system, okay? The piano I would change to a mezzo piano. The pianissimo I would change to a piano. And the reason I say that is because you're the soloist. It's a solo part. If you try and underplay anything on that big horn, man, you're going to come in. You're not helping yourself. Okay, it's like you're walking the tightrope and you don't have the stabilizing bar. Yeah, give yourself every opportunity just to make a great sound. And then if it's working great, yeah, you will then be able to come down. I would think the diminuendo on that last note, the last 2 bars. Then you can start to make your decrescendo. So keep the musical vitality happening in these phrases, and don't do everything too quickly. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, good. A lot of really good stuff there. Let's shift over to the next one if we can. Number 3. We'll go from the top if we can.
I'm gonna just try that one more time.
Absolutely. just play that low D for me.
Yeah, sure.
Please. Just by itself. What fingering are you using on that? Oh, I can't hear you. Sorry.
1, 3, 4, and 5.
Okay, so it's awkward, right?
Yeah.
Now, how far have you got your first slide out?
For that, I have it about an inch. It's kind of rough down there, so I have to...
Pop it in.
Yeah, okay.
Try that. Yeah, before it sounded a little bit of a flatness to the pitch. That might be something to look at, even if obviously it's so super low. There's an opportunity where you start actually adjusting even what's happening here on the slides and things like that. It might even help you with just the production of the note. It's just less tubing for the actual air to go through. Believe it or not, even that little part, that march will make a real difference. I would think here also that your marked piano, I would think here that maybe change that concept a little bit. Let's be a little bit happier here, like a piano plus or a mezzo piano, yeah? Settle the note, and if we feel that we want to, okay, we have a diminuendo that happens up at the end. So you've got to go from piano to pianissimo on the high A natural, yeah? Again, give yourself a little bit more help here, and just be a little bit more solid here, and see if you can actually extend that out. And I would diminuendo on the long note in the third bar, okay? Just give that a go.
Just going to write that down so I don't...
Absolutely.
Yeah, all right.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I love that. But one moment, third bar, great. But we're rushing the quavers, as I would call them, or you guys call them eighth notes. You're rushing the eighth notes, okay? D D D da D da D da D da D da D. These should be as long and elongated as possible. It doesn't matter that we're using the valves to actually change the note. Each one of those notes should be so broad and so beautiful that they're all linked up all together, yeah? So as smooth as we can. Don't think we've got valves, think we've got a bow here, because I think originally these were for cello, right? So we need to make sure that we've got this feeling that there's a real sense of there being line and length here. Just try those first three bars again. Let's see if we can really master that. Good. Let's just go from the third and fourth beat. Can we just go from there of the first bar and go through just all of the eighth notes to then the dotted quarter?
Just to make perfectly sure, you're trying to get me to line this up a little bit more on beats, right?
Absolutely, but we
Awesome.
have a little bit of a change here. When you go from the D to the natural to the F, then there's a break in the sound, like you're almost going through the break almost with the orchestra or something as well. We're trying to get this linked up. So what I want you to do is just do the quavers, the eighth notes by themselves.
Yep.
And then we'll link in the first couple of things.
Awesome.
Right, now play even broader if we can. Can we play even broader through these notes?
Broader, gotcha.
Yes, great. Now smoother. Now do the same thing, but just make it nice and smooth. Yeah. Keep the air warm. Warmth of air here, not a fast stream of air. Really warm air. Yep. Just once more now. Good. Yes, that's the one. Okay. That's the one we've got to try and remember. Now, can we add the first two notes to that in the first bar?
Sure.
And see if we can link all of that together.
Sure.
Right. Not too bad at all. When we get to the eighth note, though, the actual group of four, the first group of four together, so on the third and fourth beat, let's not make that a different tempo than what we've already started on. D, D, da, D, da. And let's think about that eighth note after the first beat. D, ba, B.
Okay, I see.
Into the next four.
Yeah, I will say that is an interpretive thing that I was doing, was just elongating that downbeat, so I will just stop doing that and just play it in time. That makes...
I think just played in time, it sort of sits. You can almost think that the first note is almost like a fermato where it sits. And there.
Yeah, okay.
Good, go on. Great. Okay, not bad, not bad. Can we try from the start of this phrase again? More of a, what does the term sort of cantabile feel or mean to you?
As if it were sung. So connected, it's not going to be short. The ends of notes aren't going to be dropped off. There's going to be direction and it's going to be pushing forward.
Yeah, good. Okay, well, I think that's important. Let's make sure that that fourth beat, which is a pickup really to the phrase, doesn't become an eighth note. Ba-da-dee, 4, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, does that make sense?
Ah, yes.
So you're actually rushing that note. So let's make sure that we can almost put a little tomato on, and 1, and then have this move forward freely like we're talking about here. But let's make sure, please, second system, bar 5, fourth beat, don't rush the eighth notes. Do you see those? Yeah, don't rush the eighth note there. Don't rush the eighth note in the sixth bar or the second beat, and don't rush the eighth notes when we're going to come up after the next phrase on the fourth beat too. Dee da dee da dee da. They have a tendency that you want to get off the first one quick. Elongate those a little more. Let's do the pickup from the pickup into the fourth bar of number 3. Right. Great, not bad. Stop there. The crescendo. I'm going to go back to the crescendo a little bit. 6, 7, bar 8. The crescendo that's marked there. Let's make something more of that. Yeah, that's a real interesting point. Given the fact that we've got this sort of, in a sense, monotone sort of tune that's happening here, let's create something here that's going to give it a little bit more voice and a little bit more expansion. And I think this crescendo here could be more. Absolutely. Yeah, of course, it's marked piano, but let's do something with it. Okay, let's keep it interesting. Also, be careful, bar 6, bar 7 on the long note that you actually hold that for 3 counts. B, D, da, D, da, 1 and 2 and 3. We didn't even get to 3 and you moved on, okay? And that's, whatever. But that's just one of those things, I suppose, that internal sense of pulse and ictus with the beat, you could say. That's where we need to be really still keeping everything really, really firm if we can. Let's just do the pickup if we can, please. The end of bar 7. Great playing, though. Well done. Let's make a little bit more music with this crescendo. Not too bad. Liking this a lot. When we get to that D that you just got to there, you made a very precise effort to articulate that. I wonder if it needs that.
Okay.
Just maybe I think that could be a different feeling in it.
Okay.
It doesn't need to be as pronounced as that. And of course, I heard you articulate the C bar 16, 17. That's okay, whatever. But let's make sure that everything's still got this sense of elongation here. I still do believe, though, that the decrescendo that you're doing, come at 14 into 15, is too much. It's too quick. Okay, it gives you nothing to sit on top of when you're at bar 15. Yeah. and that's important. And there's nothing saying here at 15 also that this couldn't be dee dum dee da dim dee da quiet dee da dee crescendo dee da. There's our note there. Then we diminuendo one. So we've always got this sense of they're leading somewhere and coming back. We're talking about the slightest little adjustments in your your dynamics or contrast here that aren't marked, that would actually not even sound like in the big wide world wouldn't even sound like you're doing much, but to the listener they would be like, wow, listen to the way that he's actually phrasing that, and he's got some direction and things like that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, that makes all the sense in the world. Yeah.
Let's finish this off to the end of 15. And I just want you this time too, when you're playing all this, try and do something a little different. Keep the sound fuller, keep the notes longer. Okay. Watch the articulation. Let's not make it too much through the front of the teeth. Let's get the articulation that little bit higher when you are going to articulate, just so we match the sense of what's actually happening here with the music. Okay. More of a d rather than a t through the middle of the teeth. Get it up a bit higher in the aperture. Yeah.
Cool. There we go.
Yeah, lovely playing. I wonder if you could just try something for me. Let's hear what this sounds like. I actually have one right next to me. Look at this big bad boy. I should really require a license to play this thing, but anyway. Let's go from, I want you to think of this as a concept, yeah? I'm just going to play on a C. This is bar 21. Play me that C just like I'm doing. I want you to play the phrase of what you've got marked there, just on a low C. Yom ba ba dee 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 ba. Here we go. Okay. Firstly, the first two eighth notes you got to, you rushed both of those. The second two are okay.
Okay.
When it came to the end of that bar, the pressure on the G, so 21, 22, was too short.
Okay.
So I want this feeling here. Real sense of there being light and playing right through the wave. Try again, please. Exactly. Now play what's written with that same length. Love the second bar. The first bar could be better. Try it once more. Same concept. Yeah. Really elongate these eighth notes. Yeah. Can we try down the octave now with the same sort of air? Yeah. Really, the same sound, please, when we get to that F, if we can. Yeah, I know it's hard. sound there when we can get that. Now let's play it up the octave and let's keep that nice and full through there. This is just a little exercise just to change things up a little bit, okay? Because when we start to play this at pitch, particularly on that horn and that high register, we're going to have the feeling over time that we are actually, we're getting sore, we're getting tired, right? This concept, and this goes for all the guys that are listening as well, guys and girls listening, this concept of choosing a note that's in a simple register that we know we can make a really, really cool sound on, okay? This is a concept where we can get that air shifting and be listening to the length of note and then try and mimic what we're doing. Taking it down the octave, obviously less stress. For some people it might cause more stress, but the concept of playing in this low register should mean that we don't have too much sort of happening here as far as stress on the chops, and that's exactly what we want, okay? Let's play just that bar from 21, just as you played on that original C, but we're going to play it as written now at the right pitch. But let's get that line and length and even more direction that we got before. Great.
We probably ought to just do a couple more minutes, and then we can have Gerald play.
Awesome. Go on from there. Great.
Keep going. Awesome.
Yep. Good. Stop there for 1 second. Right there at that point there, 24, 23, you reached a great sort of peak on the crescendo, that mezzo piano-ish, or whatever dynamic you want to call that. And then when we got to 24, you dropped the dynamic back.
Okay.
Keep the sound up. Yeah, keep it interesting. Di ba di da di da dom bi o dim pom tenuta di di do. Okay, really keep that sound vibrant there. Last time from 21 to the end with that feeling. Keep the sound up here, not playing Diminuendo.
Will do.
Right. Great. The last thing I will say there, just make sure that relationship between the 3-2 bar and the last 3-2 bar, the D that you've got there, if you diminuendo so much on the very last note of the second last bar, okay, that relationship between that last, that note, the penultimate note and the last note makes no difference, because then the pianissimo is louder than that last note. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Then start the decrescendo. Yeah.
Absolutely. Start the note and then diminuendo at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll do that. Thank you so much.
Good musical playing, good sounds. Yeah, bravo. Good job. Really good.
Also, while I have you here, the mustache is incredible.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome. Absolutely incredible.
Okay, next victim.
No need to encourage him. All right, Gerald is going to play Peter Graham's new Euphonium Concerto. Let me pull that up. I'm going to mute myself.
Euphonium Concerto or Baritone Concerto?
Yes.
Baritone Concerto, yep, great.
I'm going to do a quick mic test to make sure nothing's crazy.
Absolutely, yeah, play a few notes. Yeah, that sounds great.
All right, cool.
Jeff, I seem to hear someone playing in the background.
Yeah, there's a practice room behind me.
Oh, there, it's you. So I thought it might have been someone else on the chat. That's okay, no worries, that's fine. Okay.
Gerald, can
Yeah.
you do me a favor and just make sure you have original sound turned on?
I can check that now.
It's clipping on the highest notes.
Oh, fun.
We're learning a lot about technology through this pandemic, huh?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Learning patience and all kinds of stuff.
I've learned the tuba in the pandemic. How good's that?
I noticed. Y'all that don't follow Matt on Facebook may not have seen it, but he was fortunate enough to get to play Das Rheingold.
We can talk more about that in a moment, but yeah, absolutely. It's been a lot of fun. It's been great.
All right, let's try this again.
Sure.
Here, I'll take this off.
Beautiful playing. Yeah, lovely stuff. Great. Can you tell me what you know about this piece?
It's written about 3 different women, and they all were involved in different motor vehicle sports throughout history. So, like the first movement, it's written about a female race car driver, and so eventually we get into her actual driving stuff later with the more technical things.
Excellent. Oh, that's good. Look, it's so important for everybody that's online today and listening that we know something about the background of the music. Absolutely, it's really, really important. What do you know about the person that this was written for?
I believe she's a British euphonium artist. I don't know much about her.
Okay, close. She's a British. In fact, you've got to be careful here. She's Scottish, which yes is British, but not English. She's Scottish. Baritone horn player. Okay. Who was the principal baritone player of the Black Dyke Band, one of the world's most famous bands. In fact, the world's most famous brass band.
Yeah.
So they've been around a very, very long time. So she has been prolific for, how long have I known Katrina for? 2004. So at least 15 years, 10 to 15 years, she's been really striving hard to get new repertoire written for her instrument, the baritone, which transfers beautifully to the euphonium, I might add. And she's been an advocate of, trying to find themes and obviously thematic material and also programmatic material, you could say, exactly like you said, regarding the background to this concerto. And what's interesting here is that I listened to even you play this opening here, and I'm imagining her playing that, and I would like you to think that maybe after today you do a little bit more research on her and her playing, and actually then this will probably help you a little bit more in finding where you need to be, potentially with the opening of this music. Katrina plays with a beautiful vibrancy in her sound. She plays with an incredibly secure and fantastic technique, but ultimately she's very, very musical with everything that she does. So I would think here at the very opening, which you played ever so well, beautiful, there might be an opportunity here that we can actually look at some different tonal opportunities to make some different sounds. In essence here, when we get to that second bar, when we're playing when we're playing that note there, what about if we have the sense of being there a little bit more vibrancy in the sound? Yeah, does it make sense?
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily mean vibrato, but I mean vibrancy as this more of the sound being alive. It's the first instance that after those first few fast notes, that people are going to hear what sort of sound you make. Yeah. So it's an opportunity to go, this is me, this is what I sound like, and people to go, oh, that's awesome, I love that, I want to hear more. Okay, so I think you want to be able to capture the audience's attention a little bit earlier. Can we just try those first couple of bars and see if we can make a sound, even a different sound on these notes? Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely. Can you just try down the octave for me? Is that okay? Can you try that?
Yeah.
Great. Can we get the same feeling though that we're playing it up the octave? So let's go from the mezzo piano to the mezzo forte. Make it mezzo forte plus, yeah? Even down the octave. And make sure we hold that for the dotted half note for the right length of time too, yeah?
Yes.
Good. Just play the A natural for me. Can you just play it by itself? A bigger, fuller sound down the octave?
The top one or the bottom one?
The top one. Can we get even a bigger sound? Good. Now try it up the octave the same way. Go on, great. Good. Stop there for a moment. Not bad playing whatsoever. The quarter triplet that you've got there. I think you could actually make something a little bit more of that. The sound could be fuller here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. So the quarter triplet could be a little bit more here. Keep the sound up a little fuller. Don't rush that too quickly, and make sure that all three notes are exactly the same right length, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So don't sort of rush through that. That's a moment of pause, a moment of before we actually get onto some of these more technical notes. Yeah. I love the opening a lot better there. I want to go one last time from the opening, and I want you to see if you can do something even a little bit more different, even a little bit more dazzling. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
The movement's called turbulence. So we can add a little something in this, I think. Yeah.
Cool.
Good. Stop there. Really, really good. That whole opening for me, there's a lot more. There's a lot more to be shown, I think, of what the musicianship that you actually have in you and with you, if that makes sense. And I really believe that if you further develop this, a little bit further, as far as finding where the line and length is even that little bit more, you're going to start to find out there's some other sides to your playing that you probably hadn't envisaged before, if that makes sense, yeah?
Yeah.
You're trying to find the emotional side of your playing. The technical side of your playing at this stage sounds absolutely fine. You've got a great range as well. But then when we certainly went up to the higher extensions there at the end of the cadenza, it sounded fantastic. That wasn't a problem for you at all to actually lift the volume of that high note towards the end. And I think that's something that is you've got to use that to sort of further develop where you're at as far as your playing is concerned, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, so what we're trying to do always is search what's next. How can we make ourselves more musical? How can we make ourselves more proficient? How can we make ourselves, when we're playing in front of an audience, be even more identifiable, or someone that says, I want to hear this guy play more in the future, yeah? Let's move on. Do you want to go from B, or wherever you want to go from? Totally up to you.
Oh yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, nice. Very good. Very, very good secure playing. A good sense of time. I like it. I'll just question a little bit at sometimes maybe the articulations that you use as far as when you're playing through some of the eighth note phrases and things like that. At times, the tongue sounds a little bit heavy-handed, where I think we could be gliding through some of this a little bit more. For instance, can we just pick it up from bar 32, 33, 34, the C flat? Can we go from there? Well, and then when we start a little bit more of this technical stuff, just take it easy on the articulation, but just keep the warmth of air happening in the sound, yeah?
Okay.
Yeah, let's try that. Keep going, good. Yep, keep going. Not bad. Could we try from C again, please? You're almost thinking this is obviously has the feeling that it's in three in a bar, right?
Yeah.
One in a bar, I should say. So three quick notes in a bar. At times, it feels like we skip off some notes before others. Okay, and we catch up. Almost a little bit like a romantic sort of feeling or romantic style. I think we're going to be a little bit stricter with our time that we're playing with, especially with these eighth notes and things like that, because I do think throughout the concerto there is going to be plenty of opportunity to be able to pull and push time and do those sorts of things as well. Let's just go from C1 last time. Keep everything a little bit more strict, okay, and keep the sound vitality up, especially if we've got those dotted quarters and things like that. Don't cut those notes short if we can, okay? But the articulation differences you've made already, well done, very good. Let's go from C. Excellent. Great. Love it. Let's do something technical now. If that wasn't technical enough. Where are you happy with these areas at G? Or where are you up to with all that?
Yeah, we can do that. Maybe start at the agitato.
Totally up to you. But I love that opening stuff. That's great playing. Well done. Good.
Ah,
Yeah, good job. Stop there. That's great. That's fine. Absolutely fine. We'll come back to that in a moment. Good. Good use of your technique sounds secure. Your timing sounds secure. Um, what I will say is, when you start continue to work on this some more, the notes that are dotted, okay, obviously they mean staccato, but they don't necessarily mean short, okay. We've got to
yeah,
keep the vitality and some sort of semblance of really great tone and sound when we're playing the technical passages. And a way to help us are these pushed accents. See the accent that looks like that?
yeah.
This one would be a martellata type accent, which is, I believe, is tongue and air. Yep. This one's more of an air attack. Okay, this is a more of a guttural sort of push. So we get that in that sort of 6/8 or 3/4 feeling that we get when we play this phrase here at G again. Can we just pop out those accents a little bit more? Is that okay?
Yeah.
I think that'll give you what you're looking for, actually.
Same place?
Yeah, absolutely. That's fine. Make more of these accents now.
Ah,
Yeah. Now this time, good. You're actually thinking about it, and that's the only reason why there's been a bit of a hiccup there. I use a different articulation now on those accents. Can we make add a little bit more tongue to those accents now? And I think it'll help you. Okay, same thing.
uh,
That's okay. That's okay. Good. What I want you to have a feeling. It tells you at G that it has the into feeling. I actually still think you're feeling it. If I was conducting this, if you look at the screen for a sec, it feels like you're in a fast. It feels like you're playing in a fast 3, and not in a
yeah.
feel it into that little more. Just go right on G and have that feeling. And then those accents will pop out because you're going to be thinking about only 2 beats in a bar rather than this, it doesn't work, okay? So try and
Yeah.
think of that in that too. So you're basically thinking of the 2 double quarters through the bars, yeah? Try that from G.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Good stuff.
okay, yeah. It's a much better feeling. Also, just be careful that you're not crushing the notes. Don't rush the last 2/16 of each bar. Yeah, to get to the next bar. Keep it really strict. Whatever it might be, yeah? Really, really, really try and keep everything very, very strict so we're not pushing notes. This is where I will be popping out the metronome, or as I like to call it, the lie detector. Yes, I have one right here. Okay, make sure that we're using that, and then we bring the tempo down, get it really, really exact, and then bit by bit, obviously build this up. And I'll talk more about this when we chat in a sec. But this is something that I always use myself and always get my students to use as well. Good. Anything else you'd like to play in that, or are you happy?
I think I'm happy.
Yeah, great job. Really, really good. A lot of good things happening in your playing. A nice full sound, a good technique, and I think this is just something that, with your ever capable teacher, Mr. Jeff, you can really, really continue to work really, really hard on this and just extend what you're doing a little bit more. Yeah, I like the
Yeah,
t-shirt.
thanks,
too.
Matt.
Nice t-shirt.
Oh, thank you.
Gotcha. Thank you. Okay.
Can we all give Gerald and Cole a quick round of applause? Thanks for being the studio guinea pigs today, gentlemen.
Great. Well done. Very good. Very good. Well, it's great to hear your students again, Jeff. It's been too long. For those that don't know, basically every time that I come to the States, I think I sleep on that couch in the background. But, but my first port of call basically is Texas. That's just the route that I come into because I get the direct flight from Sydney. I live in Melbourne, so I go from Melbourne to Sydney, and then Sydney direct to Dallas Fort Worth. And so Jeff obviously isn't so far away from there. And you know, I had at least four trips last year planned to the US. One of them was going to be a great trip to defend the NABA championship with the Fountain City band that I play with in Kansas City, and there were other trips that were coming up, and trip to New Zealand, trip to Japan, all finished. So yeah, I would have seen Jeff in the last 12 months, but that's not happened. So that's obviously been a little bit sad. So, but we've all got bigger things to be worrying about at the moment, I suppose, and keeping safe is one of the really big things. So to hear the students and to hear the new batch, I suppose, because I don't know if there's so many of the guys here that I've met in the past or not, but to hear some of the guys now is great, sounding fantastic. So that's really good. Good to hear.
Well, we really appreciate you spending your morning with us.
No, that's fine. I've got my coffee, so it's all good. Do any of the guys there have any questions or things they'd like to ask or chat about?
I have 2 questions.
Hello.
Hello.
You're at the school, right?
I am in the building.
I see, yep.
Okay. So my first question is, who are your greatest musical influences?
Greatest musical influences? Oh, gee. I would say that early on in my career, probably my first 2 teachers were my greatest influences. They were fantastic teachers, but also fantastic players. And they were people that I sort of aspired to when I was younger, to be able to push on. Mark Ford and Alan Davey are their names, and they're still involved in music making even to this day, which is really great. Moving on from that, the greatest influences. Gee, it's a good question. I probably couldn't pinpoint. For me, it comes down to a few things. It comes down to potentially what style I'm thinking of at the particular time. So if I was thinking of tenor tuba playing versus euphonium playing, or even a vocalist or a cellist, it would depend on the guys or the type of music that would actually be playing. I think I have so many different influences these days that I couldn't really pinpoint someone in this particular day and age, to be honest. There's so many out there. For tonal stuff, for beauty of sound, if you've ever heard of the artist Karen Carpenter, have you ever heard her sing? Sadly, she's no longer with us. She died very young, but she had the most incredible vibrancy and tonal qualities. Really beautiful sounding artist. Get a chance to have a little listen to her at some stage and listen to her phrasing. She was wonderful. What was your other question?
My other question was, I'm sorry about that. Hello. What was your favorite country or city that you visited or performed in?
Still my favorite country is the US because I've spent so much time there. My favorite city that I've performed in? Yeah, Chicago, when I played the Chicago Symphony Brass. Yeah, absolutely. There's probably nothing that's come close to that still. Yeah. Yeah, to be around those types of musicians and the experience and the lineage and stuff was, yeah, absolutely fantastic for sure. Yeah, good questions.
What else? Sure, y'all have some questions. Matt, can you tell us about the new Shires Euphonium you're playing on?
Oh yeah, good question. So this is the Q41, and this pretty much is this is the first large Shank Q41 that came out that I received must have been 2019 at the iTech actually. In fact, I brought an instrument with me for that. I had an instrument with me, and I then subsequently was given this instrument at the start of the festival and just used it the whole week. So I hadn't even had any time to test it. I had masterclass things and all sorts to do, but I just played on it. It's a really fabulous instrument. Really well made. The guys there at Shires, Sam Lane and James Monahan and those guys, they're doing really great things, with the instrument. And there's going to be further extensions of this. This is the Q41, which has the medium bell. So I would have, in my old days, have gone for the biggest equipment, the big bell and all the rest of it, which really isn't that much different from this anyway. But I really love the focus I get out of this, but with the added, I suppose, impetus of the large shank, it gives me an opportunity to do the great things I want to do in brass band, wind band, as a soloist, in the quartet, in the ATQ, Australian Tuba Quartet, when we're doing our bits and pieces there. It works great. And in fact, my second euphonium player, or the other euphonium player, Michael Wells, he is playing on the Eastman 826, and they blend just absolutely beautifully. The Eastman 826 and the Shires Q41 are similar in ways, but there's probably still a slight bit more refinement now in the Q41 as far as some of the pitch things and everything else. The 826 also, though, is a really fabulous instrument. Very good. Yeah. And on top of that, also, you're seeing probably, if you're keeping an idea on things, if you've seen Hiram Diaz and Brandon Jones in the Air Force Band, and obviously Hiram in the President's Zone, they're also playing on the same horn, but they're playing on the medium shank version of this. This has become I suppose, a US cultural thing in the military bands that the guys are after a certain sound in the military, and I get it too, because when we're playing really big equipment in wind bands or wind ensembles, and you guys have probably gotten it, the conductor often is like this, hey, calm it down. Because we have the opportunity when we're playing in a wind ensemble, wind band, whatever it might be, we can actually destroy the ensemble if we're playing too loud. It doesn't matter if there's a loud snare drum or whatever it might be, we can still cut through all of that, if we're not doing the right thing. So the idea and concept of those guys that are playing in that field full time, there's a great opportunity for them to be able to create, I wouldn't say a smaller sound, but probably a more refined sound, and hence why that concept of the medium shank concept has become something that is a bit more popular. This arcs back to the days of Professor Brian Bowman, Dr. Bowman, and other people as well. And a lot of this concept also goes way back to when the Best and New Standards, I have one over here actually, when they came out, they were the forerunner of this whole medium shank concept, before the 1970s really, and that technology has sort of moved on later. But I've always been a large shank player, obviously on the tubas or bass trumpet, or they're obviously a small shank, but that concept, I've always been, whatever the instrument is what I've played basically, yeah.
Now for the tuba players in the room, euphoniums come in 3 shank sizes. There's the small shank, which is what beginner euphoniums would play on, like a YEP 321. There's the large shank, which is what most large bore tenor trombones use, and that's what most of our school instruments use. But we have 2 Wilson 2900s that use the European or medium shank, and that's what Matt's speaking of. It's a little bit less common. It's more of this Brian Bowman Wilson 2900 tradition, and it's kind of hard to find equipment. Really, it's a lot easier to find large shank mouthpieces. So it's nice that it works well with the large shank.
Absolutely, and really on the proviso of myself was the reason why they ended up coming out with this instrument with a large shank. I said, look, you need to have this. It cannot be just the medium shank, because that's potentially a smaller market in the US that would use that concept of mouthpiece, and more not, I wouldn't say more refined, but more of a specialized, for the guys in DC, and things like that. But it's great for people to be testing that. And then to test this one as well, because it works extremely well. I mean, the week that I got this instrument, I played with Fountain City Band. I was playing solo euphonium with the band for half the concert while Lee Harlson was getting ready to do his concerto thing, and it was fabulous. it was great. And since then, I've done a lot more work, and it works absolutely fantastically. And the variances now that you can get in large shank mouthpieces, with the back ball being not so big, that being small, the rim being a certain size, and all the mouthpieces that I play on have all got the same size rim. And then the cut variances change from that. Even with the small shank mouthpiece, I still have the same size cup on top of that small shank. So I'm playing with the same guts, you could say, on every mouthpiece that I'm playing with. Yeah, yeah.
So, for as long as I've known you, you've kind of dabbled in tuba land. And I know that you've been playing a lot more with the pandemic. What are your thoughts on doubling, and how do you approach kind of both instruments to stay in shape?
It's a really good point, actually, and something that I've never. I've dealt with it, but not to the degree that I've had to do it right now. The interesting thing is at the moment is that all of my work at the moment has all been on tuba. So all of the stuff that I've had on, as you mentioned before, the Melbourne Opera Company have just finished a series of shows of Das Rheingold, and originally I was looking to play bass trumpet in that, and they mentioned to me, oh well, Ken McClymont, who's actually my old teacher and a former member of the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra, over 40 years of associate principal trombone, and they said, well, but our tuba player has pulled out. Would you like to play the tuba part? And I emailed them back and said, give me a day, I'll get back to you. And I said, yeah, why not? Let's do it. Really not knowing that it was probably pretty hard to play the part and work that out. So I'd actually just sold another C tuba, my Eastman C. I'd actually just sold that, not because of inactivity, but it was just time to move it on at that time. So I had to go back to the company and get this awesome C tuba, the Eastman that I'm using at the moment, the 4/4, and I was really lucky because this instrument plays a bit better. The silver plate one is just super. So look, I really spent a lot of time at the end of December, start of January, just working on really basic fundamentals and building the right sort of sound. And I found a long time ago, I used one of these sidey mouthpieces. This is a stainless steel mouthpiece, if anybody's seen those, and it's a SSH Classic. Yeah, SSH Classic. It's sort of built off the Con Halliburg concept, or that sort of idea, and I just felt that worked really well. I actually use that on the E flat and F as well. I do more E flat playing than F, but I use that on the E flat too, and that seems to work really great for me. So I literally, Jeff, had to sort of put the euphonium away for some time, just to focus on that. Now, we finished 3 shows of Rheingold, and then I had a week in between where I had to get a recording together for the Fountain City guys. So it did take me a couple of days really to get some shape back on the euphonium, just because I was playing a mouthpiece like this. And honestly, when I came to the euphonium, it was like I was playing a mouthpiece that was that size. It was just, what am I doing here? And what I found through that really was, at that time when I had the opportunity then to be able to do a little bit more of both, I just had to remember really simply about what I needed to do. I just needed to find where the center of the pitch was, the core sound, find where the face was on the instrument, and really just hone in on the basics that I'd always worked on with the instrument in the past, if that makes sense. So for those guys that are doubling, and I do say, if you have an opportunity to do it, okay? Get in there and do it. If you can make a great sound on the euth and you want to test out the tuba, then do it, okay? Get on there and try it. Pull a C out, just play long tones, get some sound happening. Because what I say to everybody is that time on the C tuba or E flat or F, it all helps your euphonium playing anyway. The concept of air, the type of air that you need to use, the type of support that you need to have, and the more width in your playing will reflect so well on the euphonium. It's not funny. I mean, you'll have chops for days, It's just one of those things. I've absolutely loved the time on tuba. Realistically, I have. It's given my brain something new to work towards. It's given my fingers something to work towards. Obviously, playing in C and not B flat, or obviously the instrument's completely different pitch. So working out those fingerings and the combinations, and then the non-compensating versus the compensating. It's another world, And I will say it's important for you guys that are looking to do something in the career of low brass that, you know, many of the positions now throughout the world, particularly the US, you know, are requiring a doubler or more so a tuba, more so than a euphonium player. So it's really important, I think, that it's a skill that you gain early on for sure. Yeah.
So to kind of piggyback on this, you mentioned bass trumpet earlier.
Yeah.
How does bass trumpet factor into your euphonium practice? How do you kind of approach that differently?
Well, it's a good question. I think it's really, really important for that doubling or trebling or tripling or whatever you want to call it, that the whatever instrument it is, that's what the instrument is. That bass trumpet is not a euphonium. That trombone is not a euphonium. That tuba is not a euphonium. Vice versa. So being able to play the instruments in the correct style that they're required to be played in. For instance, the work that I've done on the bass trumpet with the Singapore Symphony and the Melbourne Symphony and Louisville Orchestra, actually, thinking about it now. Each time that I used those, I played on the C bass trumpet. So it's rotary. You can probably see it in the background. It's got rotary valves there. Now, the rotary valve system on the German repertoire, like Wagner and things like that, just works absolutely beautifully with the French horns or the Wagner tubas. That concept works great. It also works extremely well with the C trumpets and even the B flats in that repertoire. And it has the correct sort of sound. It has a bass trumpet, high bass trumpet sound, not a marching trombone sound. Okay, so I have two bass trumpets, one that's in C and one that's in B flat, and my B flat trumpet is very much like a marching bass trombone. So that concept of the Janacek Sinfonietta, the opening to that, you know, is very different to say, you know, the Rider Spring. So you must be thinking about these instruments in the context of what you're playing them in. Whether it be you're playing with the trumpets, whether it be you're playing with the trombones, they're very, very different, and they do create a very, very different sound. For instance, Ken, who just did the bass trumpet part for Das Rheingold, he was playing on a Bach B-flat trumpet, you know, from the 1960s, one of the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra's instruments, actually. And for instance, I brought in my C trumpet to him. I said, hey, check this out and see what you think. And as soon as he played the first couple of notes, he's like, this is a better sound than my instrument. And I can hear straight away this would be more suitable. But he was like, but no, I'm not going to use it this time. Maybe I'll use it another time. Because for many, many years, he's played on this same B-flat trumpet, on the bass trumpet, and it's worked great. And he sounded fantastic. And I think as the show went on, his sound probably adapted to what was around him anyway. So the instrument needs to obviously create a certain sound, but we also then need to be adaptable in the circumstances I think that we're in also. That's super, super important. And same for the tuba. You know, we need to make sure that the C tuba sounds like a C, the F or the E flat sounds like the F or the E flat. You know, there are players that can make them all sound the same, which is amazing. But the reason that they are in the different keys, the different pitches, is to create those different sounds and styles for varying repertoire. Hopefully that sort of answers the question. And then that goes into it, I suppose, you know, about the gear, what sort of mouthpieces you are using in those instruments to create that sound as well. And, you know, if you look in the back of Jeff's picture, you'll see how many mouthpieces he's got there, and you can probably see some of mine up there as well. I've got some up the back there too. I'll turn this for a second and you'll see they're up there, all my horns and stuff like that, but the mouthpieces are up there, and we need those to actually have, you know, that opportunity to be able to change and be adaptable to make sure that we've got the right gear, you know, in our instrument. Absolutely.
Well, I think we have lost some of our studio mates. The cafeteria is open and it's dinner time. Does anybody have any other questions for Dr. Van Emmerich?
Yeah, fire away.
All right. Well, Matt, it's so good to see you. You know,
Yeah, I miss you guys.
we sure missed you and your family, and thank you so much for sharing your time with us. And I really can't wait to see you guys again, whether it's in Texas or Australia or at a tuba conference. We'll figure something out.
Absolutely. No, that's great. It's yeah, good to tune in and good to hear the students and see a bunch of you guys here online. And yeah, look, keep doing what you're doing. it's been tough. I know all these things that have been going on, but sort of keep your focus on your practice and your playing. And good things will come. Work hard, and great things will happen. So, thanks very much, guys, and all the best to you moving forward.
Can we all give Dr. Van Emmerich a quick round of applause? Thank you so much, Matt.